Musipelite! Musipelite! Toko mati wapi? Toko mati wapi?
We all saw it. The whole world saw it. The M23 now has a force larger than we expected. 7,000 strong people ready to fight and defend the M23 in eastern DRC. Well, what was the meaning of this? Why did the M23 parade the 7,000 troops before the eyes of the world at a time when the M23 is having peace discussions with the Kinshasa government on finding a lasting solution in eastern DRC? Well, this is Bonafide. If you haven't subscribed, kindly subscribe and hit the notification button so that when I release something new on eastern DRC, you get notified as soon as possible. It was the military parade that has been the talk of town since this past Sunday. The M23 paraded 7,400 of its troops out in public to the world, showing its might and its readiness to defend eastern DRC in the places where the M23 has occupied from the FARDC. This show of military power raised concerns over the future of an impending peace deal between the government and the M23. But right now that you understand there are those peace negotiations between the M23 and the government of Kinshasa in Qatar, Doha, what does this parading of these 7,400 troops mean to these ongoing negotiations? First, this parading is a show of defiance, a show of strength. The M23 is projecting its defiance and strength to the rest of the world, that regardless of the fact that the M23 and the Kinshasa government are still ongoing with the negotiations, regardless of the fact that there are some threats to the M23 from the FARDC and the coalition, the M23 is still continuing to get and train more soldiers to defend its territories in eastern DRC. It demonstrates that the rebels are organized, confident, and growing in numbers, projecting military might over the dialogue that is continuing in Doha. Well, and that is not all. The M23 is also showing that they are not committed to a ceasefire fully with the Kinshasa government. They're also showing that they can continue to pursue military obligations or military activities in eastern DRC, despite the fact that there have been signed ceasefire in eastern DRC to stop fighting between these two forces. And this has some repercussions because the Kinshasa government will see this defiance and try to harden their stance against the M23. And of course, this action can take both of these parties back to square zero, and fighting may resume because of these military show-offs and the might that the M23 is trying to project to the world and of course to the Kinshasa government. And this particular pursuit by the M23 of increasing the number of troops as well as developing the military hardware by the M23 shows that if fighting resumes, then this fighting can be prolonged for a longer period of time. It also means that there could be more losses in terms of civilians as well as property in eastern DRC if there is a resumption of fighting between the M23 and the Kinshasa government. And well, perhaps that parade was used by the M23 as a pressure tactic. Perhaps the M23 just wants some bargaining chips. The rebels may want to use the show of force to secure more concessions. As we know, the talks are still ongoing between these two parties. They may just want to put a show for the Kinshasa government and the world to just insinuate that we are strong and you should deal with us seriously. Give us more room, give us more concessions so that we can let go and we can allow full government authority in eastern DRC. Therefore, that particular show of might by the M23 is telling that the M23 perhaps is not really ready to have serious negotiations of a ceasefire or to let go of the territories in eastern DRC. It is also perhaps the M23's way of showing that we are here and we can decide to continue with the onslaught as long as it takes. Also, the M23 might be in one way or another trying to threaten the Kinshasa government. There were clips of some soldiers among the 7,000 troops who came out to threaten the president of DRC. They came out to threaten the FRDC. So these are people who are ready to fight. They are speaking ill about the Kinshasa government. These are people who are now ready to go to the front lines and fight against the FRDC. Some of the soldiers among the 7,000 are those who were captured by the M23 that belonged to the FRDC in the Battle of Goma earlier this year, and they went into the M23. They decided to work with the M23, and right now they have been released to go out to their posts and protect and defend or work for the M23. Some of them are new recruits, as well as others are people who have joined the M23 from different capacities. So these 7,000 were a show of might, were a symbol that the M23 is ready to continue to fight against the Kinshasa government. Of course, the Kinshasa government has a far more larger troop number compared to that of the M23. Of course, the Kinshasa government also has better equipment compared to that of the M23. The only problem with the Kinshasa government or the FRDC is the coordination and, of course, the collaboration between the troops so that they can seriously face the M23. And, of course, the working with militia that are against the M23 is also painting a bad picture of the FRDC. Well, I will continue to keep you informed of the latest of what will come out from Eastern DRC. Right now, that the talks are still continuing between the M23 and the Kinshasa government, but the M23 seems not ready to let go of the territories by a show of might of military. Keep it bona fide.